Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 594 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our sixth book just came out. It's called I'm So Beautiful, It's Ridiculous: Unleashing and Promoting Strength, Self-Worth, and Real Sisterhood. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring fraternity and sorority leaders together. Fun fact, I love talking about food on our podcast, and our listeners are in for a very big treat today because this episode is all about nutrition and body image, which is something that we need to be talking about more with college students today, given all of the pressure that they are under from social media, not to mention the constraints that they're under for college students in terms of having a very low budget. Let's face it, we were all broke, and a limited time for shopping and cooking lavish meals. Our next guest is going to be able to shed some light on all of it. A mental health registered dietitian, Lauren Dorman is a nutrition therapist and a body image expert who has 22 years of experience working alongside children and adults that are struggling with food anxiety, body image, and self-esteem, as well as disordered and emotional eating. She is also a certified diabetes educator. After graduating from Penn State University, where she earned a bachelor's degree in nutrition, she also obtained a master's degree in nutrition from Rutgers University. Lauren is the owner of Schools Master Food and Mood, presenting regularly to school districts, both professional development and student lessons, and at webinars, conferences, and wellness events. She's also a frequent podcast guest. Lauren is known as a change leader devoted to strengthening the next generation's mental, physical, and emotional well-being. She believes that everyone deserves to have access to education from a registered dietitian, an expert in nutrition science who can help navigate nutrition misinformation, teach sustainable health habits, enhance brain health, and focus on a self-care behavioral approach toward developing a strong relationship with food, mind, and body. Welcome to the show, Lauren.
Wow, thank you so much for having me.
Hey, it is my pleasure. It is always great to have some great information for our college students. And today is no exception, Lauren, because you are on the show and you decided on the Penn State University for your undergraduate experience. You also joined Alpha Phi there, which is certainly one of my favorite sororities. So I'm wondering, why did you choose Penn State and why did you choose Alpha Phi?
Well, let's back the story up. I was 11 years old and I knew that I wanted to be a dietitian that young.
Wow.
I mean, some listeners might also have known that they also knew what they wanted to do when they were younger, and some don't find it till they're older, and that's okay, wherever you're at. But the truth is, I didn't know exactly what a dietitian was. I just knew that I enjoyed reading the magazines, cooking with my mom. I was interested in just making people feel good and feel healthy, even at that young age. And I picked Penn State because Penn State had an excellent nutrition program.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed the campus. I went there and I fell in love. And I'm so thankful and grateful that I was able to have so many amazing years there, and including my sorority as well.
Yeah. So why Alpha Phi over the other sororities on campus?
Well, that's just where it worked out when you do the rush and get down to the last three, and that's just where I ended up, and wherever I ended up is where I was meant to be. And I also had two friends already in Alpha Phi, so that kind of helped a little bit too.
That helped a little bit.
We had some
Well,
great
it's good. You kind of knew what you were getting into and that you wanted to be with them. So that makes total sense to me. Now, it's so interesting that you mentioned that you knew since 11 that you wanted to do this work. I'm wondering, like, what at age 11, how do you know that you want to be thinking about food and body and emotional eating? Like, what triggers you to say that this is what I want to do?
I didn't myself struggle too much with my relationship with food, but my father did.
Ah, okay.
And I, as his daughter and loving my father, like, I just wanted to make him feel good and wanted him to be healthy. And he actually on his own decided to, and he's doing great. He's in a great place. But back then I was worried about him as his little girl.
Right.
And I think that had like 50% to do with it. And the other 50% was just like the magazines that I read because I didn't have social media back then. So I was reading all those teen magazines and I was enjoying all of the lessons inside about food and health and body. And I think that what's interesting is I thought I would be a sports dietitian. I thought I would be working for the New York Yankees. I actually met Derek Jeter back when I was 22 years old in the city. And I wanted to help athletes improve their sports nutrition, but that ultimately didn't work out. And I'm happy with what I'm doing right now.
So you mean Derek Jeter didn't take you on, as somebody to help him out with
I
his
didn't get to talk to him
diet?
about that night.
Well, that's great. Well, listen, I'm a big Yankee fan, so I
Yeah,
certainly appreciate that.
yeah,
And what can I say? Yankees had a great win last night,
yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
always good. Now, as a registered dietitian and a certified diabetes educator, I'm wondering, how do you approach health differently than what the students are currently seeing from people like these wellness influencers on
Mhm.
social media?
So, what's very important for your listeners to understand is that wellness influencers are not experts, are not understanding the science behind nutrition, the psychology behind nutrition. Also, I feel like many of your listeners who take on this information overload, what happens is they begin to feel overwhelmed, confused. There's conflicting messages, there's misinformation, there's deceiving information. And what all of that does from that culture is it actually leads them to destination self doubt. There's roadblocks in the way. It's not giving them the clarity that I support them with. So, what's happening is when it's not individualized, this is could be for anybody, right? All those social media influencers and wellness influencers, they're not focusing on what really matters. Strategy is only 5% of what leads people to create lasting change. Another thing is those influencers create pressure, rules, frustration. It doesn't feel good, some of the advice that they're putting out there. It's working against our brain and bodies, not with our brain and bodies, which I support many college students to do.
Got it. Okay. Now, there's a couple of terms out there that I wanted to ask you about. I hear a lot about body positivity, and I
Mhm.
also hear a lot about body neutrality. So,
Mhm.
what's the difference between those two? And how
Yeah.
can the fraternity and sorority members who are listening right now adapt a healthier outlook for themselves and also for their peers, their
Yeah.
chapter?
Well, first let's think about this statistic right now. 91% of college age students do not feel good in their bodies. There's a huge gap, and I'm here to fill it. Body positivity is a social justice movement, and some of us will never get to a place of being body positive, and that's okay. I think that, like you said before, with social media and the influencers and wellness culture, I think there's so much pressure to love our bodies, but we don't have to. We don't have to love every inch of our body to respect it, to take care of it, to nourish it, to be kind to it, to prioritize self care. We can have, so the neutral part of it comes in where respect comes in. All our bodies ever wanted was for us to say, I think I'm going to be your friend. I think I'm going to start to become your friend. Do you know that when you can become body neutral, you actually engage in more healthy behaviors? When you live in a home, your body's your home, it's your vessel that brings you to experience this life. And when you live in a home that you don't feel good in day after day, you don't make the best decisions to support your long term health.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I guess that leads to, I wonder how these Greek organizations can foster an inclusive environment in their chapter around body image and food without unintentionally promoting all of the harmful stereotypes. I mean, I'm sure you've seen some of the sorority videos and things like that on Instagram or on TikTok. I just worry that we're unintentionally promoting harmful stereotypes.
I think we need to move. Well, first of all, there's a really good book by um, Lindsay and Lexi Kite. I believe it's called, I'm not sure, that More Than a Body by Lindsay and Lexi Kite. I highly recommend, if anybody is feeling a lot of struggle around their body, to read that. Now, how can we create this environment is that there's less focus on the body and more focus on health behaviors. I want to say a statement right now that when I heard it, I was like, wow, I never thought of it that way, like years ago. Your body size and your weight is an outcome. Your behaviors and your actions are things that you actually can control. So when we release the outcome and we focus on our day-to-day present lifestyle, what makes us feel good, when we chase actions rather than aesthetics, that's where true well-being comes in for emotional, physical, and mental health. And there is a micro habit handout that all of your listeners can receive if they come into my email community that is super supportive of developing a better relationship with your body and your mind and food.
Got it. Okay, very good. Now, I noticed the program on your website. It's called Social Media's Impact on Student Health. I think that's super relevant right now based on what I see on social media. What do you think are the biggest nutrition myths or even red flags that you see on platforms like TikTok and Instagram?
Yep, and I have another handout for that on myth busting and truth over trends. I do a whole program on that. The biggest myths right now is low calories best, low carb is best, don't eat late at night. But what if someone didn't eat a lot during the day and their body now is starved and saying, I need energy, I need food, or they woke up late or whatever it was? You can't tell someone just to not eat late at night because they don't know that person's environment and lifestyle. So we said low calories best. Calories give us energy. Calories give us fuel. Our bodies need nourishment every few hours throughout the day, every single day, or else things backfire later in the day, which means there could be emotional eating or binging, but someone might think that they're emotionally eating, but they actually didn't eat enough during the day, and that's why they're eating. Another one would be skinny equals healthy. You must have a strict exercise regimen. You should intermittent fast. If intermittent fasting works for someone and they have a great mental, physical health, and they don't have excess food noise and they feel great, that might work for them, right? Everyone has to find what foods and what variety makes them feel their best without listening to so much distractions out there, focusing on their own path and how their body feels. I think those are probably the biggest myths. Yeah. And they're not supportive. Again, they don't feel good. They're rules, they're restrictions, they're guidelines. There's an easier path. There's a path where you can have less struggle and more consistency, and you don't have to work harder to create forever habits when you learn the framework that I developed, the 9 to Nourished experience.
Mhm. You know, you are very well aware of the stress and the anxiety of the students today. And in your work, you talk a lot about media literacy and resilience. I'm wondering if you can share some actual strategies that the college students can use in order to protect their mental and physical health from this huge diet culture business. I mean, this is like an economy unto itself. What can the students do about it to
This
protect their mental and
this is
physical health?
great. The students can actually think about this. think about the diet industry is the only industry in the entire world that profits off of its failures. Think about that. Think about this too. If you walked into a dentist's office and you had an eye doctor appointment, what would the dentist say to you? So that's the thing. We all have a relationship with food every single day, every few hours. And are we seeing registered dietitians at least twice a year or 4 times a year? Right? When I do my programs and presentations, everyone raises their hand. I see the dentist twice a year. I might see the eye doctor. I see my well check, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, anybody here seeing their dietitian, right? Maybe there's one hand.
One.
But the truth is, that's what you're talking about, right? All that stress. It's like they're going in circles instead of getting this clarity and this clear path. Because the diet and wellness industry doesn't care about you taking care of yourself in a way that is long term, in a way that is deep, meaningful, and lasting change. And a lot of these college students are really looking for the path to least resistance, the easier path, the feel good path, and the less stressful path. And all of that out there is not going to get them there.
Yeah, you're so right. I'm wondering, what are some of the common emotional eating triggers for students, and how can they shift toward more mindful, intuitive eating instead?
So what was the first question? It was what
So,
is
what are some of the common emotional eating triggers that you see?
okay. Okay. I'm going to tell you, it really comes down to the basics. Okay.
Yeah.
The basics is if you're not nourishing your body throughout the day regularly with a variety of food, and it doesn't even have to be a variety of food. It can even be doesn't have to be a large variety, but somewhat of a variety. Get some color, get some protein, get some carbs, and get some healthy fats. And if any of your listeners want visuals, I'll be happy to share with them. If they're not doing that regularly, right? Every 3-4 hours, our bodies need food. Something super important. Anxiety and stress can hide hunger. So if 3-4 hours go by and you are not hungry, think about other symptoms. Think about headaches. Think about fatigue. Think about brain fog. Think about focus. Think about thoughts of food. If you don't feel hungry, but you're thinking about food, you're hungry. So there's other ways that besides feeling the hunger in your throat and your stomach, there's other ways that your body expresses hunger. And if you're not able to nourish your body regularly throughout the day, it's not necessarily emotional eating, but it's eating because your body was starved during the day and it thinks it's in a famine. So it's making choices that aren't super supportive in the moment because your body felt like it needs all this. Now, if you are nourishing throughout the day and you are eating when you're not hungry, that comes down to an emotion, an uncomfortable emotion that you're feeling. It could have to do with your experiences when you were a child, what your parents taught you around food and body, social media, how you respect yourself and care for yourself. If you don't have to love yourself, but if you like yourself and respect yourself, and you're able to so you wanted me to tell your listeners a little tip, right? A tip is to pause and check in with yourself. Am I eating enough throughout the day? Am I drinking enough water throughout the day? How's my sleep? Am I taking some social media breaks? Even if it's a 3-minute break, sit out in the sun, listen to one song that's 3 or 4 minutes. Do you know that all those little things help the students make better decisions and access more of their prefrontal cortex versus their amygdala, the fear-based brain. But there could be a lot of students walking around already on battery empty because they didn't sleep enough.
Hmm.
because they didn't eat enough, because they didn't hydrate enough, because they didn't move their body enough. So it's these basic things. And those are all in the micro habit sheet that I'm happy to help them with. But the point also is that when you try to do too many things, like 3, 4 new things with your habits, with your nutrition, your brain's like, I'm not going there. It moves towards inaction. It doesn't move towards action. So we have to make sure that everybody knows or understands that less is more. Focusing on just simple things is going to get you to transform.
That's great advice. Really good. Now, you're right about the sleep. The college students are not getting enough sleep. Like I can see it in their face immediately. And I also see that college students, because they are so stressed and so busy, they're skipping meals or they're relying on caffeine. I see those Celsius drinks like all over the place. My kids themselves are drinking the Celsius stuff, and I worry about what's in it. And I see like just junk food all over the place in order to power through in the vending machines on campus and things like that. What is your message to students about sustainable energy, focus, and mood?
Okay. I think this actually brings me to the first ingredient in my guidebook. It's on page 7, and everybody has access to my free guidebook. Okay.
Mhm.
When you answer these 7 questions and you can self-reflect on your vision and your why, one example is, where do you see yourself in 1 to 3 months? Why is it important for you to achieve? What impact would that have on your life? Because that vision and those questions and that why, that clarity precedes any strategy and precedes success. So if someone's grabbing foods that are not as nutritional or beneficial for their mood and their energy in the moment, and that's instant gratification, but then they answered those questions and they know their vision and they kind of check in with themselves and are like, okay, like the first thought is that I want that less nutrient food, right? And some days that's going to be the decision, right? Because it's all imperfect. We're not having any like perfect, there's no perfect way of eating, right?
Mhm.
But how do you got to check in with how you physically and mentally feel. How are you able to focus? How's your productivity? How are your grades? How are your relationships, your social, it's like this bigger picture of, oh, my my emotion and my thought wants that energy drink right now. But the truth is, how am I going to feel when I drink this or when I eat things that are not as nutritional? But I don't label foods good or bad or healthy and unhealthy because it creates a feeling of, well, then I want the unhealthy food. So when food is neutral, like remember you said body neutrality, when
Yeah.
food is neutral, there's a different you actually make the better supportive choices when food is just neutral and it's not powerful. And you have control. You're the CEO of your brain and body, so you have control over your mind. It's like mastering your mind. A lot of this is changing the conversations that you have with yourself on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Now, I mean, we talked a little bit about energy drinks like Celsius and others. I feel like there's all these trends out there. And I'm wondering, are there any trends that you see coming up in terms of student wellness and nutrition that campuses and fraternities and sororities should be paying attention to?
Well, I think what campuses and sororities should be paying attention to is any information that a health at every size registered dietitian puts out on social media. And there are so many of us out there on social media, not as many as the $1 billion diet and wellness industry.
Hmm.
But if you want, I can give you a list of all, amazing dietitians to follow and what trends, but it's not really about trends. It's about going back to building the basics and learning about micro habits and learning about how to be proud of yourself when you make decisions that were the opposite of what your thought and your emotion wanted you to do in the first place.
Got it.
That's
Very
what
good.
keeps momentum going too.
Hmm.
Your
That's
momentum builds from the actions you take and from you actually being super proud of yourself, which a lot of college kids weren't taught to do.
yeah.
But you can shift little by little.
I love it. All right. So if our college students are looking for a nutrition therapist, if they want to bring you in to speak on their college campus about nutrition and body image, if they want to go and get some of the free resources that you were
Yeah.
talking about in this interview, where should they go to get all of this stuff and connect with you?
Yeah. So I am on Instagram as Don't Diet Dietitian. So they can follow me there. They can reach out to me, send me a message. You also can email me at schooldietitian@gmail.com. And I have a community. It's called the Nine to Nourished community in my email list.
Mhm.
You receive the micro habit sheet, you receive my free guidebook. I think that would be an amazing place to start to kind of unpack this new way of thinking about food and body and health.
Perfect. All right, very good. Well, I know that our students are going to go and follow you and message you on Instagram right now. It's Don't Diet Dietitian. So make sure you go and follow Lauren and get all of the free stuff. That's really important for you to get. And listen, I think what you're doing right now is just really admirable. Like we know that this whole diet industry is just like the behemoth. Like it's this big huge monster. And there's so much money and so much influence there. And it's so hard for a lonely college student to be able to, decipher what's true, what's not true, and where is this
Yeah,
message coming from? Is this a trusted source, or are they ultimately trying to make money off of my failure?
exactly. And
Right?
the confused mind steps away from action. And that and a lot of listeners right now might just have a little bit more compassion for themselves, like, wow, now I get there's a little light bulb moment. I get myself a little bit more and I can be a little bit more kinder and learn a little bit newer skill set towards eating and health.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for what you do. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being on the show. And to
Thank you
our
so much for having
listeners,
me.
of course, to our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation with Lauren, I want you to make sure that you like it. I want you to share it with every college student that needs to hear her words about diet, about body image. Of course, send it to the Alpha Fees because she wants to connect with you at Alpha Phi as well and all the Alpha Phi chapters that are listening right now. So thank you so much for listening. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.